that kind of stuff squared away and
Yeah.
having everything else. I
want to make sure I'm being a good person to others because
To prepare themselves and
shout out to my parents.
You're going for you. We've already answered so far.
It's basically the same.
Who's helped you get to this point? Who means the most to you?
Like my girl. Like I literally love her with my whole heart.
What's going on? Matt Besachio here once again for WMCT TV and WMCT Sports, and welcome back for another episode of the Senior Spotlight Show, where we bring different student athletes throughout the city of Marlborough. We bring them here in studio and we introduce them to you. And today our guests are the senior captains from the Marlborough High wrestling team. We've got Jack Cincotta and Frank Johnston. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course, man. Now, these guys are just finishing up their senior season with the Panthers. We'll talk about their season. They actually were able to do something very cool, which was get a spotlight installed in the field house, which is something we'll definitely circle back to later on. But as we usually do, we like to start talking about senior year and different things associated with that. So, Frank, we'll start with you. I mean, senior year, you've only got a few months left in school. Like, what's that like for you right now?
It's super weird to think about. It's so weird, all 4 years coming to an end. It's obviously been a long journey with sports, but at the same time, you're almost ready for the end. You know what I mean? You're ready for the next step. You're ready for a break on sports. But overall, it's been a fun year, fun sports. Senior year been pretty light on schoolwork for the most part, but
yeah, you do a lot of the major work and all the really difficult stuff junior year that kind of gets you prepared for senior year. What type of things are you looking forward to the rest of the year?
The rest of the year, I think just hanging out with friends, getting the best of the little time we have left, honestly. So yeah, I just think hanging out with friends and like really taking in all the time I have left before I go off to college.
Cool. So that kind of segues me to my next question. What are your plans post-graduation? So
my plans are I want to go to a bigger school down south, like University of South Carolina, and I plan on attending there for a 4-year degree.
Cool. Gamecocks, man. That's what I'm talking about. Very, very cool. Very cool. Jack, what about you? How's senior year going? We got 3.5 months left. That's going to be pretty wild.
Yeah, it's been good so far. Really excited to take a next step to college, but definitely will miss the time I've had here in Marlborough, and definitely going to enjoy the last of it with senior skip day and senior sass and all the senior activities that we get to do.
Cool.
And yeah, it's definitely been fun.
Nice. Senior prom too, graduation, all these really cool things that these guys have to look forward to. But as far as like the next step, you plan on going to college. Not necessarily where you plan on going, but what you may pursue as far as a major or a minor.
Yeah, I'm trying to do business, something in business analytics or finance.
All right.
And I'm trying to get something in there.
Very nice. All right. Well, what motivated you to want to pursue that?
I feel like it's just like a lot of hard work and like I don't even know how to answer that.
No, it's okay. I mean, sometimes it can just be as simple as, somebody in your family may have been an accountant, or you just, it's something involving money and you want to be good with money someday. So, it's just it's a cool thing to put yourself into because it'll really put you ahead of a lot of other people in your peer group. Transition from that, what was your favorite subject over the last couple of years?
Favorite subject was probably pre-calc last year and math.
Okay.
It was like really cool to figure out like how to solve through problems and like step-by-step equations, and just the class I had was really fun.
Yeah, no, math was always something that really kind of appealed to me as well because there was an answer, and you had to show all of those steps, as opposed to something else where you can kind of like fudge it or make something up that sounds right. In math, it's right or it's wrong. So that's very cool. What about you, Frank? What about a particular subject that's been appealing to you the last couple of years?
The last couple of years in high school, I think my favorite subject would probably be early on U.S. history. I was a big fan of like learning how the country came to be and how we got our independence. So I think that would be my favorite subject in school.
Man. Well, it's important to understand the past.
Yeah, of course.
So that way it kind of helps you to kind of understand things that might potentially happen in the future. That's really cool. So would that class, would that also be your favorite teacher, or was there another teacher that maybe stands out over your time?
No, I don't think that'd be my favorite teacher. My favorite teacher, I'd probably give it to Mr. Lowe. He was a U.S. history teacher, but he was later on. I just think he's a good teacher. He's really good with the students. He's good at teaching. He's good at understanding. You can build a good connection with him.
Hey, that's the most important thing in education. If you don't trust the person that's educating you, you're not really going to respect them or respond them or think the things that they're saying are important. Now, Jack, what about you? Any favorite teachers that you have had over the past year or so?
Yeah, probably Miss Belial or Miss Haley, both business teachers. And I took each one of their classes a handful of times. They both offer a bunch of different classes at Marlborough, so it was good to get different understandings of different subjects from them.
Yeah, and it's funny how that works, where your favorite teacher can sometimes, help push you towards something because they make it seem more appealing, they make it seem more fun, So that's very cool. But you guys are, high-level athletes, senior year. You've got a lot of different things going on. I mean, social life, school, athletics, all these different types of things. And in this world that we live in, there can be a lot of stress. So I'm kind of interested in how guys your age try to cope with or deal with stress. So Frank, what is it that you like to do maybe in your off time that helps you decompress or kind of get away from the world's kind of problems and troubles?
I'm a big fan of hanging out with my little brother. We're very similar in age, so throughout my whole life, he's always just been there. So whenever I want to get away from stress or something's bothering me, I'll find something to do with him. I'll listen to music, maybe go for a quick car drive, or play sports with my friends.
Nice. So you got your license and everything. Very cool. Very cool. Jack, what about you? What do you do to try to alleviate stress?
Definitely agree with Frank. I'd try to talk to people, or I'd listen to some music. Just spend some time alone. Just think on it. Just be able to calm myself.
Very nice. It's just, you live in a world, you've got your phones and all these distractions and different things. Do you feel like sometimes, it's important for you to take your phone and put it aside and spend a decent amount of time away from it?
Yeah.
It's definitely important. Sometimes it's hard to, because, after a long day of school, sometimes you just want to, rot on your phone and just go for a little bit. But it is good to put it down every once in a while. Like I said, I'll put my phone down and do something with my little brother for a little bit.
That's cool. So you have all of this, built-in perspective now, being seniors, having gone through all the troubles of being an underclassman and, not knowing how you may fit in and how you're going to make it to senior year. So, Jack, at this point, what type of advice would you give yourself, or maybe you have a friend who may be an underclassman, somebody that you may have played sports with, what type of advice would you give them, knowing what you know now as a senior?
Yeah, I'd definitely start, when you're an upperclassman, start to do all of your college stuff early. It's definitely a lot easier to have all of your college stuff turned in, all of your essays done, and you find out from schools quicker, because it's so much less stress when all said and done, and you can just sit down and relax now and just see and just pick where you want to go.
Yeah, procrastination's a killer.
Yeah.
It's so easy just to put it off to tomorrow, put it off to next week. You don't have to do it now, but then next week eventually comes and then you just regret the fact that you didn't take care of it to begin with. So that's very good advice. Frank, what about you?
Everyone says it, but I would say really take in the time that you have. It really goes by fast. I have this freshman friend that I actually met at the middle school for a program we had last year called Big Brother, Big Sister.
Oh, cool.
I met him. He's up at the high school now. So I always tell him, take the time that you have. Don't let it go to waste. I encourage sports. I think sports are very important in building friends, having a fun time in high school. And you have made a fair point, procrastination, don't fall behind. Make sure you do everything, because like you said, it's super easy to put it off to tomorrow. But
Yeah. Now, can you mind just talking to me a little bit about your involvement with Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Yeah, last year, Big Brother, Big Sister, there's a bunch of juniors that would go down to the middle school who are 8th graders that would come up to high school next year. You would go down to the middle school, you would build connections with them, get to know them, and then make sure they'd be all set up in high school.
Yeah, that's really impactful.
Yeah.
What do you feel like that you personally have gotten out of that experience?
I think I built a connection with them, and it made me feel good knowing that I can influence someone like that, or even being a leader, which ties back into captain. So I feel like that helped me become a captain, as long as just getting to know people better.
Yeah, just understanding what a positive leader can do for other people, at this age, especially important. So that way you understand how it is that you may grow into being a man and what that leadership can then do for you later on. So that's very cool. Are you involved in any type of volunteer work or a part-time job or anything?
Yeah, I've 2 part-time jobs, and I was also part of the Big Brother Big Sister program too.
Very, very cool. I mean, tell me about maybe one of your favorite experiences with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Definitely playing those little games with them, connecting paper chains together and seeing whose was the longest. Those were really fun.
Yeah. What about your part-time jobs? What do you do there?
I work at 4 Kicks in Marlborough.
Okay.
And I do concessions, birthday parties, and I coach little kickers.
Okay.
And then I also work for my dad's cousin who owns the funeral home in Marlborough.
All right. Very, very cool. You have any part-time jobs?
Yeah, I work at Altitude,
Altitude, is that
the trampoline place.
Okay.
Yep.
Very nice, very nice. Well, very cool. It's good to see that you guys are, getting involved in the community in a volunteer aspect, but also you're also managing something else, so aside from school and sports, having a job, social life. So it's very cool to be able to have all of those things, and balance them and do them all well. So very, very cool. But now we'll transition to their time with the Panther wrestling team. So Jack, we'll start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with Coach Rogers?
Yeah, I definitely have a good relationship with him. Definitely spend a lot of time in his office during the school day. He's a guidance counselor, but he's just like really good coach, really good guy. And it's nice to be able to have somebody that you can talk to that's just not on like the wrestling mat in the wrestling room. You can go see in school and just have a conversation, whether it's about wrestling or anything.
Great. I mean, just to be able to communicate, have that ability to, be a leader for people, but also just be like a voice for somebody that, that's very cool. What about your relationship with him, Frank?
My relationship's still extremely well. Same thing as him. He's also my guidance counselor. So coming into high school, like I often talk to him about certain things. You mentioned early on he was a part-time coach for the football team, so he's definitely there. So there's just so many opportunities to build a connection with him. With wrestling, you can get so much closer with him. You can see like how he is as an actual person. He drives me to be a better person overall. I think I work harder because of him. And yeah, it just makes me a better person. He's really cool to talk to. He's really down to earth.
I haven't really, I've corresponded with him through email and different things like that. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and speak with him. But from afar, he seems as though he's got a very lively personality.
Yeah,
tons of energy. I was
Yeah.
at the senior night, and again, I'm not accustomed to wrestling matches per se, so I don't know what the standard, protocol is or whatever, but he's sitting there screaming, yelling out instructions the entire time, and it was just really like cool to see how into it he really was. So, Jack, if you were able to describe it, how would you describe like his coaching leadership style?
I describe it like, as you said, very vocal. He was like willing to, at practice, like wrestle with you and like just make sure you understand it to the fullest. And like he doesn't care if you're a varsity starter or if it's your first practice. Like he'll make sure he works with you and like continues to grow you as a wrestler and as a person.
That's cool. Frank, what about a favorite memory you may have with Coach Rogers?
Oh, favorite memory? Probably one I made recently, actually. At All States, we had a couple wrestlers go on to All States. It's a 2-day event. So like we'll have to stay in the hotel to go on to day 2. And I remember it's something as little as like playing Xbox in our room, and he would like come in and join us. It's just funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have coaches and they might be a little bit older or disconnected, but having somebody who's a little bit younger, who's kind of that video game generation, that must be a very cool experience to sit down and pick up the sticks with your coach.
That's funny.
But Coach Rogers did provide me with a couple of paragraphs here, kind of explaining what's made you guys such valuable members of the Marlborough High community over your time. Quote, "Both Jack and Frank are willing to do whatever is needed, whether it's driving kids to and from practice, to club wrestling, volunteering to run a tournament, or to share some laughs over losing in handball, a fun warm-up game that we play every day." Then he goes on to say, "They both are role models for the present and future Marlborough Panthers. Some of the most genuine and wholehearted kids I have been around in my 8 years here at MHS. MHS Wrestling is indebted to Frank and Jack for all of their contributions." Jack, that's got to be really nice to hear.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Just to kind of be seen like that by people that have kind of been around you for your whole career at a school, it must make you feel really good.
Yeah, it definitely does. I definitely think me and Frank have both looked at something like captains for a long time since our freshman year when I got him to wrestle. And like in the corner of the wrestling room, like all of previous captains write their name on the wall. And I feel like that's such something like we want to like leave our mark.
Yeah, Frank, it's got to be really, really like nice just to, have somebody that's coached you for all these years have such glowing things to say about you.
Yeah, it really is a great feeling. Just like I said, I came into high school, I've always looked up to him ever since I got here. He's always been a role model. So to hear that, it feels great. There's not a better feeling.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about this pregame warm-up that you got. You guys play handball, huh?
Yeah, every practice probably since we got to high school, it's just been like this handball game. Rules are pretty basic, and it always He always says he's not a fan, but I think he likes it more than anyone. I think he's a liar. I think he
Now,
has
who
the most
brought
fun.
this on? Like, whose idea was it to start
I don't
playing
know.
handball? That's not like a common
Yeah,
game. This is
it's
a game
not.
that like my
Yeah.
father's generation played back in the day. So to hear kids that are playing this nowadays is kind of intriguing. Like, who brought it? Like,
It was there when we got to high school.
oh,
We got to
okay.
high
So the
school,
tradition had already been started.
It's already
Okay,
been
okay.
started. We've
So,
just been playing.
all right, who's the better handball player between the two? of
It's
you?
close, but I'm going to give it to myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to
All
myself.
right. Very cool, very cool. Now you talked about being a captain, Jack. What was that moment like being selected as a captain and being given that responsibility?
It was pretty good. It just feels like you've responsibilities, but at the same time, it's like you're respected between your peers, and it just feels like people can trust you with things. People will ask you about stuff and ask you not even about wrestling itself, but anything in general, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, Frank, that role of being a leader, you've taken that from football to wrestling. You do it outside in your personal life, volunteering. So what was that moment like to be recognized as somebody who was going to be a leader of the team?
It's really a great feeling. I think both last year, me and Jack both got promoted captain. Part of that could have been due to lack of seniors, but I think this year we've proven that we both are able to be captain. It's not just like a handout because we don't have seniors. I think
Right.
this year we really proved what we can do as captain. We had a great wrestling year, and it's just great to really help lead a team, help be an influence, make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to.
Hey, I can't imagine that there's some rule saying there has to be a captain on a team. So if you're being given that even as a junior, that means that you did a lot as a freshman and a sophomore to prove to the powers that be that you were capable of taking on that responsibility. So that's really cool. Being a 2-year captain, that's very special. But is there a former captain or teammate, whether it's football, wrestling, as somebody that when you were a freshman or a sophomore you looked up to, and that upperclassman was either really kind to you or helpful or taught you the way?
I think Neil and Stemple for both football and wrestling, and Owen Menendez for wrestling. Okay. I think those are my big two that I look up to.
Yeah, what about Owen as far as wrestling is concerned? What did he necessarily do that was important to helping you?
He was just a great captain. He really helped me. We sometimes, either before practice or after practice, whenever drilling with him, he would really make sure whatever I'm doing was right, and he would help and not be rude about it. He was actually a good mentor, and and he was our first state champ that we had in 5 years or something.
That's awesome.
Which is cool, yeah.
Nice to look up to somebody that's really good too.
Exactly.
And on top of being personable and kind when they're really good, it's easy to look up to them as well. Jack, what about you? Is there a certain captain or a former teammate that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, probably for me, Howie and Nealon, just because they're both football captains our freshman year, so going to wrestling season, having both of them as your captains too, it was really easy to look up into, and both of them just made everything so entertaining, so fun to be at. It didn't feel like practice with them. It felt like it was just another day hanging out with your friends.
That's nice. And what's funny about you talking about these guys is that there are freshmen and sophomores that in a couple of years, we're all still here, that will be talking about you guys being those upperclassmen that they looked up to someday. So it's kind of the neat kind of full circle kind of stuff about that, because a couple of years ago I've got Neil and I've got Howie here with me talking in studio, talking about the people that they used to look up to. So it's just a kind of a nice thing to hear guys talk about. But the big thing that came from this wrestling season, on top of the wins and everything, was the fact that you guys were able to get a very unique item installed into the field house, and that was very dramatic. And if you haven't seen it, go to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, scroll down, find the senior night video where they actually were able to perform under this spotlight. Now, Jack, can you just tell me where the idea came from? It seems so simple, but somebody had to be you know what? We need something like that. So where'd that come from?
Yeah, I think it was definitely freshman year, going all the way out to Quabbin and just walking in the gym and seeing the lights turn off and that one spotlight turn on. It was just a different environment. And I think growing up in Natick and going to wrestling meets when I was even younger and watching that, I think that's what really made me want that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Frank, it's a super dramatic effect. I've been going and covering different athletic, events over at the field house for close to a decade now, There was a very unique vibe and feel once those lights just started to shut off, and it was like, oh, wow. And then poof, the spotlight comes on. So what was the feeling like for you being able to perform in that environment?
It was great. It was great. Like Jack said, freshman years when we first were introduced to one, we thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And we've been trying to get one up for like 3 years now, ever since we saw it, but it's been so hard. To finally get up our senior year for senior night was great. To hear the lights go off, to hear the light turn on, hear everyone's reaction in the crowd, it was so great.
It was really cool. It was very cool to be there. But how did you guys raise the money, Frank?
We had a tournament preseason that me, Jack, and other wrestlers and countless people helped set up, and we had made a bunch of money from that strictly for the light and other things.
Well, I was going to say, it's not only just the cost of the light itself, but it's also the installation too. Now, I've heard that there was some difficulty in trying to get that put up because there was that time frame that you wanted to hit. So, Jack, what was the hang up?
Yeah, they couldn't really get it up to the ceiling because of the wiring and how heavy it was. So, it was a constant every day of bugging Rogers and Jones and seeing who we can get it up there sooner.
So who do you think really spearheaded that effort in getting that taken care of for you guys? Who do you think takes chief responsibility and credit for helping you guys out the most?
Yeah? I think Jones is a big part of it.
That's super cool. So now you're at this point, you guys have been able to think of an idea that's very cool, then go through the whole process of fundraising and putting the flame to the feet of the people that you need to put this up. Oh, wow, you guys have created this legacy for yourselves. Now going forward, every wrestling team that goes forward from Marlborough High is gonna be able to use this spotlight. So have you kind of put any thought, Jack, into the fact that this is something that's going to live on for quite some time?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it much, but it's been something that's when it first went up, it wasn't even strictly wrestling. It was basketball that would use it for walkouts if they wanted to. It was so many other things, like if it was a ceremony in the gym, countless things that it could be used for. That was just it wasn't just for us, it was for everybody.
Oh, that's a good answer. Very good answer. Frank, what about you? Is it cool to kind of have something that, kind of be your legacy after you leave the school?
Yeah, it is. It's weird. I haven't really thought about it like that, but thinking about it like that, it is actually pretty cool to think about that like Jack said, many teams can use it. It's used for many different things, but now that every time it's going to be used, it's going to be good to know that we're a help part of that.
Yeah, the 2025, 2026 senior captains, the Marlborough wrestling team, were able to put that thing there that's going to be there for 10, 20 years. And maybe someday you bring your kids back to the gym and you're like, that was me. I did that.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cool, guys. It's been really a nice conversation, a pleasure talking to the both of you. Very fine, upstanding young men, doing a lot of good things in the community, which is very, very cool, and obviously crushing it in school and athletics as well. So thank you both for stopping by today.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You're very, very welcome. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of the Senior Spotlight Show. This episode, along with the dozens of other interviews that we've been able to do, fortunately been able to do here at WMCT TV, are available throughout the fleet of our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, our website, WMCT-TV.com. And if you like listening to podcasts, which I know that I do, you can find the audio version of this podcast on Spotify as well. Just search at WMCT Sports. So thank you once again for watching. Thanks again to Jack and Frank for being here. And we will see you next time on the Senior Spotlight Show. Bang. Guys, that was awesome. Great job.